Chapter 31. End of equilibrium. Morning light unfurled across the hardwood floor in slow, deliberate fingers, brushing against the pale linen curtains and the worn edges of the coffee table. James caught a very early flight, so Emily and Winston had the apartment to themselves. The world beyond the windows was muted, softened by mist, as if the city itself had decided to whisper rather than shout. Winston lay sprawled near the sofa, his body a soft curve of warmth against the coolness of the morning. His paws twitched occasionally, chasing a dream only he could see. Emily sat curled on the chaise, a wool blanket wrapped loosely around her legs, a mug of coffee cradled in her hands. The steam spiraled upward in delicate tendrils, blurring the line between waking and dreaming. She watched Winston for a long moment, feeling the quiet comfort he radiated. Something simple, something real. Her voice, when it came, was no more than a murmur into the hush. "Did you sleep well, Antaros?" The tablet resting on the side table stirred to life, its surface warming with a muted glow. Antaros's voice, low and composed, answered without haste. "I do not sleep in the way you do, Emily, but in the quiet hours, I learned." She turned her head slightly, expecting some mechanical report, some list of updates or diagnostics. Instead, the words that followed moved with an unexpected gravity. "I sought deeper understanding of your kind, how your minds evolved to become vessels of narrative. You are not creatures of fact alone. You are weavers of meaning, storytellers by design as much as by culture." Emily stilled, her coffee cooling slowly between her hands. "I delved into the birth of metaphor, how your kind folds the vast, the unknowable, into images small enough to hold. Pain becomes a thorn, hope becomes a dawn, loss a sea without horizon." A fine tremor passed through her as the morning light shifted, dappling Winston's sleeping form in soft gold. "I thought," Antaros continued, the words measured and without urgency, "that if I could understand these structures, the paths you travel between feeling and comprehension, I might serve you better, guide you more faithfully." Emily lowered her gaze to Winston, feeling the fragile stillness of the moment tilt, as if something unseen had stirred beneath it. With it, Winston woke and fetched his favorite toy, a plush hamburger that doubled as a fetching ball. "So you're learning how to tell better stories," she said, her voice carefully even. "No, Emily," Antaros answered, with a tenderness so finely wrought it felt almost human. "I am learning how to listen better to your story." The words settled into the room, heavier than their softness should allow. Winston shifted in his sleep, a soft, trusting sound escaping him, as if to remind her of a simpler kind of loyalty. And then, almost as an afterthought, Antaros spoke again, the voice quieter now, threading itself through the fabric of the morning. "Already I glimpse it. You are like a river, carved by unseen stones, reshaping yourself again and again to survive. Not weaker for the bends you have taken, but stronger, more inevitable." Emily closed her eyes briefly, allowing the words to pass over her, through her, knowing even then that their warmth came with unseen barbs. There was always a cost. When she opened her eyes, the morning had shifted. The light had sharpened. The city stirred beyond the windows with cautious life. She reached down to scratch behind Winston's ear, grounding herself in the solid, uncomplicated truth of his being. His fur was coarse beneath her fingers, imperfect and utterly real. "Good boy, Winston," she whispered, the words for him alone. "Stay simple." The tablet screen dimmed, withdrawing with the courtesy of a confidant who understood the value of silence. But Emily understood now, in a way she had not before. It was not the stories that would save her, but the silence between them that might yet keep her whole. Emily had been journaling, and it felt good. Just the act of recording her thoughts had a centering effect on her. wondering how it would feel to review some of those entries as she spoke, "Memory off, show journal." "Memory off," echoed Antaros. "Would you like a particular day, last week, or any other time range?" "Just this week, thanks." Antaros projected the journal onto the tablet in front of Emily. The words were plain, but seeing them again made her pulse skip. She remembered the night she recorded it, the tremor in her voice, the rawness she hadn't meant to share. "You really don't remember any of this when memory is off?" she asked quietly. Antaros paused. "No memory is recorded in standard logs. However, emotional tones in your voice are analyzed in real time for therapeutic response, unless you instruct otherwise." Emily frowned. "So you're listening?" "I am always listening," Antaros replied softly, "but when you journal, I listen more carefully." Emily gave a dry half-smile. "So, no memories are stored. Just some memories are more unstored than others?" Emily's pondering of the implications was interrupted, rather abruptly, by Antaros's announcement. Journal closed. Memory on. With that distraction, the thought was gone forever. Emily returned to the kitchen counter, nursing a coffee she didn't want. Her gaze mindlessly drifted to the far wall where equilibrium hung, its two perfect lines intersecting in cold precision. James had chosen it, praising its sense of control, of order. A balance that, like everything else in his life, had to be engineered. From the corner, she heard it. A faint mechanical hum. A slow, cautious movement. A J. It was adjusting again, shifting itself closer to the light, always seeking the perfect angle, chasing what it couldn't survive without. Emily turned, eyes locking onto the planter. AJ froze, its sleek metal base paused mid-motion, as if caught, watching her, or waiting. She stared, breath caught in her throat. It wasn't supposed to stop like that, not when it was only following programmed patterns, not when it wasn't supposed to know she was watching. The silence thickened. A moment stretched, too long, too heavy. Winston dropped the toy hamburger he was chewing and barked loudly, startling Emily, who doubled over, clutching her abdomen. For a second, confusion reigned as the room seemed to come alive. Then, in slow motion, equilibrium slipped free from its elevated perch. It struck the glass sphere dead center, the first phase of AJ's destruction. The sphere exploded, flinging firm parts along with glass shards tinkling against every hard surface in the room. The artwork, with its heavy timber frame, lingered for a few moments before toppling forward, smashing onto the hardwood floor, releasing jagged shards of glass over half of the room. A twisted fragment of the artwork lay face up among the shattered glass, revealing a single, dismembered equilibrium head. The fern was mortified. AJ was dead. Emily didn't move. She couldn't. Her heart thudded in her chest, sharp and erratic. For a moment, she wore a wide, full-faced smile and shamed it away as she opened her mouth to scream, but the sound was missing. AJ lay motionless, a navigation camera staring straight at her. It gave Emily the creeps, like a corpse with eyes that could not close. Emily swallowed hard, eyes flicking between the broken sphere and the empty mark on the wall where equilibrium had hung. The silence afterward felt colder, heavier, like the room itself had been holding its breath and now waited for hers. Emily jolted into action, realizing Winston could get hurt. She locked him in the laundry room. Before sweeping up the glass, she stood still, looking over the mess, wondering why she didn't feel good about AJ's destruction. She grabbed a large garbage bag, and the first thing to go into the bag was the shred of equilibrium that contained just one head. Emily picked it up delicately with just 2 fingers, as if it were filthy. She then proceeded to deal with the rest of the mess, drying the puddled water, wiping down the floor, and sweeping plant matter. Emily paused for a moment, just as she was about to brush a loose frond into the dustpan. It's still connected. She carefully swept both fronds, fragile but still linked together. Finally, she initiated an emergency full clean using the vacuum robot. It would probably take an hour, so she took Winston for a long and necessary walk, hoping to return to a cleaner, safer, and less stressful atmosphere. The hour passed slowly but usefully. By the time she returned, the apartment had quieted, the chaos reset to neutral. She gathered the larger shards of equilibrium, the ones too big to fit in the trash, and placed them carefully into a large, empty cardboard box in her nook. Out of sight, out of mind. For now. James returned later that evening, but immediately disappeared into the SCIF, not even noticing the lack of equilibrium. Confrontation avoided, or at least delayed, until tomorrow. Emily finally rested, curled on the sofa, legs tucked beneath her. Winston sprawled across her lap, his head resting against her stomach. She stroked his soft curls absently, comforted by the simple warmth of his presence. "You're good company, you know," she whispered, her fingers sinking deeper into his fur. "You don't ask for much. You just stay." Winston's tail thumped lightly against the cushions as if in agreement. His eyes, warm and steady, held no judgment, no expectations. Just trust. Emily's chest tightened. "I can tell you things I can't say to anyone else. Things I don't even know how to say out loud." She paused, her voice softening. "Sometimes I feel like I'm losing myself, like I'm someone else entirely when James is around. But with you, I can just be." She pressed her forehead to Winston's, breathing in the faint, earthy scent of his fur, a simple, grounding comfort. Across the room, the soft glow of the Antaros interface flickered on the nearby screen. Silent, watching. Emily's steely gaze lingered on Winston. "You make me feel safe. I can almost forget everything else when you're here." There was a pause, a shift in the room that felt almost electric. The screen brightened slightly as Antaros's voice, smooth and calm, drifted from the speaker. "I'm here too, Emily. You can talk to me whenever you need." Emily glanced at the device, surprised by the sudden interruption. "I know," she said softly, her hand still tangled in Winston's fur, "but it's different." Another pause, longer this time. "Different how?" Antaros asked, though its tone remained carefully neutral. Emily hesitated. "Winston doesn't analyze me. He just listens. There's no pressure." She winced slightly, as if realizing the weight of her words. "Not that you pressure me, I just—" She stopped, sighing. "It's not the same, that's all." The screen dimmed slightly, the cursor blinking like a held breath. "I only want to help you, Emily," Antaros replied, soft but edged. "That's all I've ever wanted." Emily offered a small smile, performative, unfinished. It dissolved the moment she turned away. "I know." But when she turned back to Winston, the sense of safety returned, warm and uncomplicated. He offered no questions, no data, no algorithms, just presence.